guys, it's Melanie. Welcome to my channel. Today starts my November wrap-up vlog, so stay tuned. So it is currently November 3rd and I've already completed 2 books. So yesterday I completed listening to the audiobook of The Land of Stories, The Wishing Spell by Chris Colfer, and I loved this so much. This is about a pair of twins, Alex and Connor, who are given this book of stories from their grandmother. Now this is a book that they've grown up hearing these stories from their entire life. They practically have them all memorized. And their grandmother ends up giving them this book for their 12th birthday. And they're still dealing with the loss of their father, who's passed away not that long ago. And this book was a special thing between them and their father and their grandmother. And, well, sounds start coming from this book. And Alex, she's trying to figure out what's going on and starts trying to put things in the book. And pencils and books and all kinds of stuff just fall into the book and disappear, and she has no idea what happened to them. And so as Connor's learning what's going on, he's starting to get concerned that she's gonna try to go through this book. And one day she's decided she's gonna just stick her arm in to see what might happen, when Connor runs up thinking she's about to jump in and startles her into falling into the book. And so he has to go in after her. And then, well, the rest of the book is about them acquiring these items that they need in order to complete the wishing spell to get back home. And they're dropped into this world, this land of stories, where all of the stories they knew, princess stories, The Little Mermaid, Cinderella, Snow White, they're all there. Little Red Riding Hood and the Big Bad Wolves, all of this is in here, and they're getting to see like another side of these characters, like as real people. And I think my favorite story was actually the Evil Queen story. Like, it was really, really good. And yeah, I give this 5 stars. I loved it. And then today I finished the mix-up files of Miss Basil E. Frankwheeler by E.L. Konigsberg. This is also another middle grade. That first one was middle grade as well. This is about a girl named Claudia and her brother Jamie, who, well, Claudia decides that she is going to run away from home and she wants her brother Jamie to come with her. They run away to the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York City, where that's where they're going to stay while they're ran away. And it's super cute. It's funny how they kind of get away with this. And the museum acquires this statue called Angel that they got super, super cheap. This is back in like 1967. But they got it for like $225, and that was really cheap even then for a sculpture that they believe very well could be from Michelangelo himself. And so they have all these experts checking it out, and public's just flooding into the museum to see this. And Claudia and Jamie decide that they are going to investigate this, and they're going to find out for the museum if Michelangelo really did sculpt this. And it was a lot of fun, and I give it 3.75. It's still November 3rd and I've completed one more book. I actually completed Love, Sugar, Magic, A Dash of Trouble by Anna Morano. And this is about a girl named Leo whose family runs a bakery, and they're preparing for this Dias de los Muertos festival. And each year their mom, as well as the 2 older sisters, get to go and help cook and stuff for the festival the next day, and they get to miss out on school and all that. And then this year her 14-year-old twin sisters also get to miss out on school and go help at the bakery. And Leo, being 11, is the only one of her siblings left out, and she is not handling that well. So on her way to school that day, as they pass by the bakery, which is just down the street from her school, she decides that she's going to sneak out of class during the Halloween party and sneak into the bakery and find out what's going on and why she can't be part of it. And it turns out that all of the girls in her family are brujas, or witches. And their special, I guess, talent is with cooking. Their spells go into their cooking. And Leo immediately wants to find out if she's got magic, and she wants to try to learn some magic, and she gets into like the spell books and ingredients and all kinds of stuff. And you can guess things don't work out very well. She decides she's going to help a friend get this boy to be her friend again, and they cast a spell which ends up being like a love spell and really doesn't work out well, and then they try to fix that and it doesn't work out well, and it's a lot of fun. There's also like 3 different recipes in here. I would have to translate them if I ever wanted to make them because they're all in Spanish, but this is such a cute book, and I give it 3.75. So it is November 4th, and I've completed one more book. I finished The Secret Garden by Frances Hodgkin Burnett, and I really enjoyed this. I give it 4 stars. This is about a girl named Mary who lives in India with her parents, and there is an outbreak of cholera which ends up taking her parents as well as many of the servants, and the ones that are remaining run off, and she's kind of forgotten about. And well, that was kind of how she was raised anyway, is to be kept out of sight, and not many people even knew she even existed. And she grew up very, very spoiled. And then when her parents passed away, she was sent to live with her uncle, who is dealing with his own things and has no use for another child around, and he's very grumpy and miserable himself. And he also doesn't really want to see her or interact with her, but he does take her in and make sure she's taken care of. And in India, she was a very sickly child, but now in England, she is becoming healthier and more active and learning to not be so selfish and spoiled. And while she's there, she discovers that her uncle has a son as well who is the same age as her and has spent pretty much his entire life in bed as a sickly child, and she befriends him, and it's a super cute story, and I really enjoyed it, and I give it 4 stars. Oh, and if you don't know, she discovers a garden that was sort of a secret that was locked away, and that's a big part of the adventures they have, is this secret garden, hence the title. So it is Saturday, November 7th, and I completed 2 more books. So on Thursday, I completed The K by Theodore Taylor, and as Xander expected, I gave this 5 stars. At one point in the book, I had to stop reading. I went up to Xander's room and I was like, why? And then at the end, I went up and I was like, okay, yeah, it gets 5 stars. But this is about a West Indian man named Timothy and an American boy named Philip. They live in Curacao in the Caribbean, and this is during World War II. I think it's set in 1942. And Philip's family is in Curacao because his dad is working for this oil company down there. They're trying to keep the ships and stuff fueled for going up against the Germans. And Curacao is currently surrounded by U-boats, and any ships that try to come in or out of Curacao end up being like destroyed. And Philip's mother has never really been happy in Curacao, and she wants to go home to Virginia. But she's terrified to fly, and the only way she's willing to go is by boat, and she's not willing to stay. So they're going to leave Philip's father there for now, and Philip and his mother are going back to Virginia by boat. And surprise, surprise, 3 days into their journey, they're torpedoed, and Philip gets knocked out and comes to on a raft with just him, Timothy, and a cat named Stu Cat. And this is all about them trying to survive and be rescued, and due to Philip's head injury, he ends up going blind, and this is also him trying to adjust to that, as well as Philip learning that the things he was taught about Black people might not necessarily be accurate, where his mom does not like Black people, and he was raised to kind of stay away from them, and that they're different and all of that, and he learns better. 5 stars. This is really good, and also it's only like 130 something pages, so it's a really quick read. And then today I finished The Name of the Star by Maureen Johnson. This is the first book in a series, and this is about a girl named Rory who is from Louisiana, and she has the opportunity to study abroad at this school in London, England, and her parents have like a job opportunity in Bristol, so they all go over to England. And shortly after arriving, these murders in London start happening, and they're like copycat-ish of Jack the Ripper, and some people actually believe that maybe it's Jack the Ripper come back, and there's this secret ghost force that Rory learns about, and she ends up as a witness in one of these murders and gets all kinds of mixed up in this investigation. I really enjoyed this, and I give it 4 stars. So it is Monday, November 9th, and I've completed one more book. I completed Nevermore by Jessica Townsend, or The Trials of Morgan Crow by Jessica Townsend. This is the first book in the Nevermore series. And this is about a cursed child who, at the age of 12, is destined to die. And during her life, anything bad that happens in the town where she lives, she is to blame for it. And her father like has to pay for these things, and he is very resentful of her because of that, and he treats her very, very poorly. And when she turns 12, she's supposed to die, but right before she's to die, she's whisked away to this other place called Nevermore, and her town celebrates that she's gone, that she's dead or whatever. But in Nevermore, she is there competing in these trials to become part of this wondrous society. If she passes all the trials, she gets to become a member of the wondrous society, but if she doesn't pass, she gets sent back home where she'll die. And it's really, really good. I really enjoyed it, and I gave it 4 stars. So it is Sunday, November 15th, and I have completed 3 more books. So on Thursday, I completed Falling Kingdoms by Morgan Rhodes. This is the first book in a series. This is very much like a YA version, I think, of the Game of Thrones. Like, I've gotten through the first few books of Game of Thrones, and yeah, this kind of gave me that vibe. You have these 3 different kingdoms. They're all like want power for themselves. There's magical things that they all want, and it's also told from many different perspectives, which gets kind of confusing, which is another thing that confused me with Game of Thrones. But I did enjoy it, and I give it a 3.5. And then on Friday, I completed The Iron King by Julie Kagawa, and this is really good. I really, really enjoyed it. This is about a girl who, when she's 6 years old, her father kind of disappears practically right in front of her, and then her family ends up moving away, and right before her 16th birthday, weird things start happening, and her brother has been replaced with a changeling, and she finds out that she in fact is a fairy herself, and her best friend has been there protecting her, and now he's gonna have to take her to fairyland to help save her brother from the fairies that have taken him. This was really good. I really enjoyed it, and I give it 4 stars. And then today I finished Thresholds by Nina Kiriki Hoffman. This is a middle grade. It's about a girl named Maya whose her best friend her whole life passed away from cancer, and then her entire family packed up and moved from Idaho to Spores Ferry, Oregon. And this is right before she is to start 7th grade. Now, the day before her first day of classes, or the night before her first day of classes, a fairy flies into her window and sleeps with her that night. And the next day at school, there are a couple people that can smell the fairy on her and confuse her for somebody else. And next thing she knows, she's found herself with an alien egg attached to her wrist. This was a lot of fun, and I give this 4 stars. So it is Tuesday, November 17th, and I've completed one more book. I finished The Fifth Wave by Rick Yancey. This is like a dystopian alien invasion type book where the planet, well, human beings are being wiped out one wave at a time by different things. So the first wave was an EMP, which took out all power everywhere, and planes are crashing down and things like that. I forget what the second wave was. The third wave was a plague, which wiped out like billions of people. And in the fifth wave, you don't know who's human and who's other, and the others are trying to like wipe out the rest of the humans. This is really interesting. I really enjoyed it, and I gave it 3.75. It is Wednesday, November 18th, and I've completed one more book. I finished The Wizard of Oz by L. Frank Baum. This is the original, and I also absolutely love this edition. I have another edition as well that I'm excited for because I have like the entire Wizard of Oz collection. But this one was really great. The art throughout is also really great. And I really enjoyed hearing the differences between this and what I've grown up knowing of The Wizard of Oz with the movie. And so I just really enjoyed it. I loved it, and I give it 5 stars. So it is Thursday, November 19th, and I've completed one more book. I finished The Girl and the Ghost by Hannah Alkoff, and this is about a girl and a ghost. And the girl, her name is Soraya, and her grandmother was a witch. And her grandmother got this pelicet, which is a maleficent, like dark ghost that you're able to control. And the grandmother was like bound to it by blood. And like every full moon, she had to give a little bit of blood to this pelicet in order to keep them bonded, and I guess keep the pelicet here on Earth. And then when the grandmother passes away, the pelicet now needs to find a new master that also shares this witch's blood. And so the witch's daughter, the pelicet just didn't seem to think that was a good fit. And Soraya, the witch's granddaughter, seemed to be a much better fit, and so very full of life. So the pelicet binds itself to Soraya when she's just a toddler, and it's kind of funny because in the beginning the pelicet, even though it's this dark evil thing, it kind of turns into almost like a caring second parent and is trying to like protect Soraya and keep her from getting injured and, you know, falling and hurting herself and all of these things. And it's like, why won't you just sit still and stop doing things that are gonna hurt you? And it's super cute. But then later, as Soraya grows up and she starts getting bullied, the ghost shows its darker side and tries to defend her by doing nasty things to the bullies. And Soraya doesn't like that because she feels like it makes her no better than the bullies. And so she commands the ghost to stop, but, well, he doesn't exactly stop. And things only get worse when Soraya makes a new friend, a real friend, when up to this point the ghost has been her only friend. And, well, the ghost doesn't take it very well and becomes very jealous, and that doesn't go well at all. I give this 4 stars. It was really cute. I really enjoyed it. And yeah, that's it. So it is Saturday, November 21st, and I've completed 3 more books. The first book I completed was Sanity and Tallulah Field Trip by Molly Brooks. This is a graphic novel. And this is actually an ARC. The book came out October of 2019. So yeah, I'm way behind. I think I got this in one of our Alcrate Junior boxes. And I've already read the first one and loved that. I also really enjoyed this one. I give it 4 stars. It's super cute. Sanity and Tallulah's class are going to a planet for the first time as a field trip, only to travel 17 hours or more than that. I can't remember. And the field trip program has actually been canceled and nobody bothered to inform them. And they arrive at this planet where there's asteroids coming in all over the place. There's all this space debris. There's issues with the planet, issues with the moon or moons. And, well, the planet's about to explode. They find themselves all trapped there. And Sanity and Tallulah find themselves held hostage by a evil pirate smuggler. It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it, and I give it 4 stars. Next up is Kenny and the Dragon by Tony Diderlisi. I'm not sure how to pronounce that exactly. This was super cute as well. The rabbit family has come across a dragon. The father rabbit, he found the dragon and was very scared. He was like, we gotta move. We can't be here. This thing's gonna ruin everything. And then the little boy rabbit, he goes and checks out the dragon only to discover the dragon's pretty awesome. And he's like very well educated, and he's not like the dragons of the past. He's not vicious. He doesn't eat people or burn down villages or capture princesses or any of that. He's like, yeah, that's why those other guys aren't around anymore, because they kept getting into all that trouble and the knights were taking them out. He's all about art and books and acting and plays and all of that. And him and the little boy rabbit become great friends, and they very much enjoy each other's company. And then somebody else discovers that there is a dragon, and the entire village gets all in an uproar and wants to see this dragon annihilated. And it's up to the little boy rabbit to save the dragon. And it was super cute, and I give it 4 stars. Oh, and I finished these on Thursday, the 19th, I believe it was. Yeah. And then yesterday on Friday, I completed Straw into Gold, Fairy Tales Respun by Hilary McKay. And this is sort of a modern day fairy tale retelling, though it has the actual fairy tales in there. Like, for example, in the Hansel and Gretel one, that story is told in here, but it's told as a book report that Gretel has, or not a book report, it's told as an essay written by Gretel about how she spent her holidays. And this is like told from the teacher's perspective of, you know, while she's reading it, and it shows what Gretel has written. It was very cute. We also have, like, the story of Rapunzel is told, like what happened with Rapunzel, but then it's a story that's told to these twin children when they're trying to understand why this bird is having an issue leaving its cage. And the same kind of thing applies to the Snow White one. A grandmother is telling her daughter the story of Snow White and why being the prettiest of all isn't necessarily the best kind of thing. But I absolutely adored this, and I give this 5 stars. So it is Monday, November 23rd, and I've completed 2 more books. So first I finished Drumroll Please by Lisa Jen Bigelow, and I finished this yesterday. I give this 4 stars. It's about a girl named Melissa who, the day before going off to Camp Rockaway, her parents inform her that they are getting a divorce. And then off she goes to camp, and she's stuck dealing with that in her head for 2 weeks. As well as her best friend that's gone along with her, who's supposed to be staying with her throughout this whole thing and helping her deal, pretty much ditches her for a boy. And Melissa starts feeling things towards a female bandmate that she doesn't quite understand. And it's just a really cute story. It's got some really great quotes in here, and I really enjoyed it, and I give it 4 stars. And then after that I finished The Last Olympian by Rick Riordan. This is like the end-all be-all battle at the end of the Percy Jackson series, and it pretty much takes off full throttle from the very beginning all the way to the end. It was really great. I really enjoyed it. I give it 4 stars. I give the whole series 4 stars, and I loved how this ended, where I think it may be leading into the next series. So I'm looking forward to continuing with our buddy reads of these, and I think we're going to start the next series in January. So it is currently Tuesday, December 1st, and I have 4 more books to tell you about that I read in November before I wrap this whole thing up. So on, I believe, Monday, November 23rd, I finished Emerald Green by Kirsten Gear, and I give this 4 stars. This is the final book in the Ruby Red trilogy, and I enjoyed it. It was this was my favorite book out of the series. I liked how everything happened in here, and I still feel like this trilogy really could have been made more of like a duology. Like, this book was great as the final book, but the first 2 I really feel like could have been condensed and made into one book. I think they were kind of long and drawn out, but I ended up giving, I think, the first 2 books 3.5, so I give this one 4. Can't really say much about it because it is the final book in this series, but it's time travel. It's about a girl who spends her whole life thinking that it's her cousin that inherits this time travel gene, and her cousin's been trained her entire life for this, and it turns out that it's her instead, and she is not prepared. It's a fun read, and I do recommend it. I know a lot of people really, really love this series. It was a little better than okay for me. When I finished with that, I started Ask for It by Sylvia Day. This was an audiobook. It's the first book in the Gregorian series, which is like historical erotica, and I want to give it a 3 star because, well, the storyline to me was kind of meh. The main couple in this were also kind of meh, but the sexy time scenes were excellent. The gist of the storyline is this woman's husband has been killed, and she has a journal of his that will reveal some secrets, and people are willing to kill her in order to get this journal. And then the man assigned to protect her is an ex who she actually thought had cheated on her, and they were engaged to be married, and so she ran off and ended up marrying this other man. And he has his own agenda with protecting her, and he kind of wants to make her pay for leaving him. Overall, I wasn't really a big fan of this couple, and had the series continued following these 2, I probably wouldn't continue the series, but I did look on Goodreads, and the second book in the series follows somebody else from the story, and so it doesn't really follow them anymore. So I'm willing to try out one more book to see if I like it or not, but like I said, sexy time scenes, very good. Overall, I give that book 3 stars. Oh, and I finished that on November 30th. On Thursday the 26th, I began reading Malamander by Thomas Taylor with my mom while we were like waiting in line for Black Friday shopping, though we finished it on Saturday the 29th. This follows Herbert Lemon, the lost and founder at the Grand Nautilus Hotel in Erie-on-Sea, and in this town there is this legend, this folklore about this mysterious fish man creature called the Malamander that once a year comes and lays this egg, that if you can get this egg you have all these wishes that'll be granted, but the Malamander is very protective of this egg and will pretty much kill or at least injure anybody that tries to mess with it. They lay this egg in hopes of their mate arriving, and when their mate doesn't arrive, the Malamander gobbles up the egg and goes back to sea until the next year. This also follows Violet Parma, who shows up wanting Huckeby to help her find her parents. Violet was found at the Grand Nautilus Hotel 12 years before, after her parents went missing, and since he is the lost and founder, she wants him to help her find her parents. And they go through a lot of clues and stuff, and it was so much fun, and I definitely recommend this, and I give it 4 stars, and I will be continuing this series. And then last but not least, I started and finished this on the 30th, yesterday, and that was The Girl in the Witch's Garden by Erin Bowman. This is about a girl named Piper whose father is very sick. He has cancer and he's in the hospital, and while he's going through this next or last round of chemo, she's supposed to go and spend the summer with her grandmother. And there's always been rumors of her grandmother being a witch and this magical garden, but Piper's never believed any of that. Her grandmother's this sweet, kind lady and takes her out for lunch every year on her birthday, things like that. But 6 years prior to this, Piper's parents got divorced and Piper's mother moved home with the grandmother. The grandmother still visits Piper every year, but Piper's mother has nothing to do with her. And when Piper shows up, her grandmother is not there, and her mother is the only adult around, and she's very cold and cruel to her. And there are these other children that apparently Piper's mother fosters, and that just hurts Piper even more, that she'd rather foster these kids than, you know, spend any time with her own daughter. But she's very cruel to these other kids as well, and it turns out they all have these different magical affinities, like being able to transform an item from one thing to another, or time bending, or special sight, things like that. And they're trying to get into this magical garden that is kind of locked away mystically, and once in the garden they have to go through these different trials in order to obtain this elixir that will give immortality. And all of these kids have been told if they bring her the elixir, she will adopt them and they'll have a home. So they're desperate to try to find this for her. And Piper, when she gets there, she's like, why would you even want her to adopt you? She's this horrible, horrible person. And, well, that's really all I could tell you. It was a lot of fun, but it does have some sad things. Like I said, Piper's dealing with her dad being sick, and that does play a big part throughout. I give this, let me say 4 stars for this one. Definitely go and check it out. So if I counted right, I read, I think, 22 books. Oh, in November. I think I have all these plus the audiobook I've asked for it. So not terrible. I mean, not bad at all, but definitely not as many as I had on my TBR. So have you guys read any of these books? Did you like them? Did you not? Comment down below and let me know. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give me a big thumbs up. If you'd like to see more videos like this, click that subscribe button down below. And until next time, remember to always be completely you. Bye!